Welcome to English 9A, Credit 2, Lessons 3 through 5. For Lesson 3 is your mastery checks, so I'm going to let you do those on your own. Just make sure you are going back to the Gettysburg Address speech, looking at your annotations and the answers to the questions. Lesson 4, we are doing an enrichment text, which means we're kind of adding to what you learned in the Gettysburg Address. We're going to look for the author's point of view, cite textual evidence, clarify meaning of unknown and multiple meaning words, and determine the theme or central idea. So the enrichment text for this packet is Gettysburg Address, Public Reaction, and Legacy. Okay, let's pay attention to this. You're going to annotate it again, just like you did with the Gettysburg Address, and make sure that you're paying attention to the author's purpose. Let's read it together. Gettysburg Address, Public Reaction and Legacy. On the day following the dedication ceremony, newspapers all over the country reprinted Lincoln's speech along with Everett's speech. Everett was the keynote speaker actually at that ceremony to dedicate the cemetery. So his was actually a really long speech, and then Lincoln got up and gave the short Gettysburg Address. Continuing on, opinion was generally divided along political lines, with Republican journalists praising the speech as heartfelt classic piece of oratory and Democratic ones deriding it as inadequate and inappropriate for the momentous occasion. Kind of like today. In the years to come, the Gettysburg Address would endure as arguably the most quoted, most memorized piece of oratory in American history. After Lincoln's assassination in April of 1865, Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts wrote of the address, "That speech, uttered at the field of Gettysburg, and now sanctified by the martyrdom of its author, is a monumental act. In the modesty of his nature, he said, 'The world will little note nor long remember what we said here, but it can never forget what they did here.' He was mistaken. The world at once noted what was said and will never cease to remember it." So what the author's really saying there is, although there was division between the political parties on whether it was a good speech or a poor speech, it was definitely an important speech. And we are going to answer these elaboration questions. How do you think you might have reacted to Lincoln's speech if you had been alive when he delivered it? Would you have found it appropriate for the situation? Why or why not? So this is a what do you think question. There's really no wrong answer. Just tell me what you think it would have been like had you been there, okay? And do really pay attention to your thoughts on this, because this is going to be your performance task. It's going to be pretending you were there and you heard it. So really think what it sounded like, what it felt like, what it looked like, okay? Start thinking those things in your head, because you're going to need them for your performance task. And then number 2, imagine you were a journalist in the audience of the speech. On the newspaper cover below, write a headline that captures the main idea of the speech as well as your reaction to it. Make sure the headline is interesting and attention-grabbing. It only needs to be one line, so don't stress about it. And then knowing what you know now, what parts of Lincoln's speech were accurate, ones that came true. So look at today. What predictions did he make that have not yet come true? So think of today. Think of the things that he predicted and his desires and his purpose for writing the speech and his call to action. Think about all that, and what do you think was accurate and what has not yet happened? Okay, on the next page, you have this graphic organizer. Speeches, essays, and other texts that have great historical and literary significance are called seminal documents. In the United States, the Gettysburg Address is a seminal document, as are George Washington's farewell address, Franklin Roosevelt's For Freedom speech, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s letters from Birmingham jail. Use the characteristics described below to help you analyze seminal documents. So seminal documents are important. They're first-hand documents that are of historical value. They have strong themes such as freedom, equality, strength, and democracy. They include concepts such as fairness, justice, respect, and honor. Their themes and concepts encourage the audience to take action. Remember, there's always a call to action. And the seminal documents are engaging ideas presented in an original way. This next page is part of your quiz grade, so I'm not going to write it down for you, but make sure you go back to the Gettysburg Address and fill in the chart with examples from the speech that support each characteristics. You can use the definitions in the information you recorded in your annotations and the answers to the questions that we did together. The document characteristics, concepts of respect and honor. So go back to the speech and see where you see evidence of honor and respect. Okay, could be with the soldiers that had given their lives there. Another document characteristic is it's an idea of freedom in a new way. So go back and talk about how freedom is defined in the Gettysburg Address. What is freedom? And then the third one is a statement of actions for the audience to take. So go back and look at what you thought his call to action was and fill out this chart. Okay, and the next page is also part of your quiz grade, where you get to write a paragraph. Seminal U.S. documents often refer to themes and ideals that are important to the audience they address. What is the theme or the underlying message of the Gettysburg Address? Are those themes still important today? Explain the underlying message and the American ideals that the speech discusses. Okay, so you're probably going to talk about freedom and equality of man. Okay, you're going to have to do a paragraph. Make sure you discuss themes and central ideas, use proper punctuation, capitalization, and look for commonly misspelled words. And then finally, we're going to be at lesson 5, where you are demonstrating your understanding through your performance task. You're going to produce clear and coherent writing in which the development, organization, and style are appropriate to the task, purpose, and audience. Develop and strengthen writing as needed by planning, revising, editing, and rewriting. And then demonstrating command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when writing or speaking. Okay, so let's talk about what your performance task is for this credit. Okay, remember that the title of this credit is Finding Common Ground. Okay, finding ways to come together. And remember, in the Civil War that we've really been focusing on, the Union Army and the Confederate Army had to find ways to come together. Okay, so your performance task, we're going to demonstrate the knowledge you've gained over the course of this credit. Make sure you pay attention to these requirements. You are going to pretend you are an audience member listening to Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Remember that 4 months ago, right where you were standing, thousands of men died. In a letter to a fellow citizen who was not present in Gettysburg, so maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member that couldn't make it out, summarize the speech and describe your reactions to the speech. Include whether you think it was appropriate or effective for the occasion. So everything you've been doing in the packet is kind of leading up to this performance test. So make sure you go back and read what you wrote. So remember, it's a letter. In paragraph 1, you're going to summarize the speech. Remember, to summarize is to just give a short summary of what it was about, the main ideas. Okay? You don't have to paraphrase. You're just going to do a short summary. In paragraph 2, you're going to describe your reaction. Include examples from the speech that connect to your reaction. All right, tell your friend how you felt, or what the audience sounded like, how everyone was behaving. Just make up sensory details and then include examples, meaning quote the speech, things that gave you a certain reaction, quote it. And then in paragraph 3, explain whether you think the speech was effective. Did he achieve his purpose? Did you want to adhere to his call to action? Include examples from the speech that support your explanation. So make sure you're including examples. And that is going to be the end of credit 2. Remember, you're going to be doing your rough draft in the packet on the lined pages. And then you're going to type your final draft and in Google Docs preferably, and then share it with your teacher. All right, we will see you on credit 3.